What's Going On is really an album that questioned what was going on at the time with Vietnam, what's going on with the Nixon administration, and the outcry of the public.
What's going on? You know what I mean?
What's going on in the city, Mercy Me, Inner City Blues, what's going on? All these touch a nerve in white American and black American society. And it propelled the album to become a bestseller. It sold about 2 million copies in the US, right? And it became a bestseller so far for Motown. And it was number 6 on the album 200, the pop album charts, and number 1 on the R&B charts, 24, and it stayed there for 9 weeks.
Sure. Affinity Extra, be extra.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily represent the views of Affinity Extra.
Yo. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, let's go. Yeah, people, this is your boy here, Roger Moore, and Affinity Extra, celebrating gospel music of black origin, and I'm with my colleague there, Kevin. We're on part 3 of the 2024 Black History Music Month special. We're here. We're not based in the USA. We're here to celebrate the worldwide. And you know, I have to say, America is technically the commercial epicenter of black music. Would you say that?
Yes, it has been that for decades because...
But we're not saying it's a source. But it's like
it is
the commercial.
That's where a lot of blacks actually had tremendous success. As we talk about Curtis Mayfield, would they have that level of success as they were in England? I doubt it. I'm telling the truth. I doubt it because the establishment in Britain wouldn't allow it to be at that level. And it's just sad. We have to talk with the truth, really. There's a lot of prejudice in the music industry on the whole, in the music system.
In the Royal Britannia system.
Britannia system. Now, the interesting thing that when we look at, say, Motown, would Motown as a black label exist in England so easy? No.
You've shown that because there's places like Island Records.
Yes.
Yeah, people like that. You that almost was doing good. But are there, somebody asked me today, who's today's Island Records in the UK?
There is no full-time black label with the same impact as those previous labels in the UK. It's just the reality of it.
Oh, but yeah.
That's
true.
Where the British system is structure. It's not structure for black music components or creatives to have that level of impact like the Marvin Gaye's. The What's Going On album. You think actually the What's Going On album exists because of the way how at the time blacks were allowed to actually develop and conceptualize what was going on. What's Going On is really an album that questioned what was going on at the time with Vietnam, what's going on with the Nixon administration, and the outcry of the public.
What's going on? You know what I mean?
What's going on in the city, Mercy Me, Inner City Blues, what's going on? All these touch a nerve in white American and black American society. And it propelled the album to become a bestseller because it was a conceptual album that it was jazz orientated and it was soul orientated. It had everything. I mean, when you think about it, it became, it sold about 2 million copies in the US, right? And it became a bestseller so far for Motown. And it was number 6 on the album 200, the pop album charts, and number 1 on the R&B charts, 24, and it stayed there for 9 weeks. It was a major blockbuster, and it was when gold certified in the UK, and it earned platinum certification for over 300,000 copies in the UK. So both sides of the Atlantic, it did extremely well, right? And out of it, it produced 3 number one singles. And one of those singles was number one on the Cashbox top 200, 100 singles charts. As you know, there it is there, Cash, yeah. Yes.
So you know, so
yes,
I'm looking at it because I think people need to realize singles today have a different impact to singles back in the day. I think as well, if you're a young person, you listen to it. I think single tracks is a very powerful situation. And I think that it's important that we recognize that singles back in them days was just a bit more different. You had the album, and when you release singles off the album with a few extra, I don't know, cuts or instrumentals of it or something like that still, you know?
Yes, and another thing too about this album, it was the first album by a solo artist that had 3 number ones R&B singles from it. 3 R&B number one singles from it. That and it was an album that it musically fused jazz elements, gospel elements, and soul elements. You know?
Okay.
It fused all of those. It fused all of them, and it was the first album by Motown that go against the grain of Motown, because Motown had a particular sound, you know, sort of. But this is the first album that deal with social issues.
Okay, yeah. And again, social issues. I think people feel like not talking the truth and being nice about things and being politically correct is the way forward. I think just talk the truth, and people recognize as well, you got to talk the truth about your situation. Yeah. It's not about fake news and being over, being a bit over, you know, like you're talking like, oh, you're from the ends and you're talking a certain way. I think talking the truth, not from the perspective of enjoying and maximizing, is in terms of a situation like we see sometimes in music, well, a lot of times in music, the over playing of the hand and the glorification of drug trafficking and so on. So that's not what's keeping the truth free. That's, people think talking about the truth is talking about continuation of a negativity, but we have to look at, we've got a bunch of writers that maybe seeing that negativity, but they're not talking about them negativities as something that we need to do to survive and to move forward. They're talking about them negativities as something that they have to come against. What is going on with the way the social deprivation around in these particular areas, which are more browner than other areas? Why are we getting locked up for the same drug, but we getting locked up for 30 years and they're getting a slap on the wrist when you just 2 miles down the road? Yeah, so you're saying what's going on from that, rather than saying carry on and this is the man them thing and carry on them things. And I think social justice is turned into social realness has turned into a social joke these days, and I think these guys wanted progression for a more positive community. Today, I see people talk about, you know, music from a perspective of, you know, social aspects, you know, gratification of the negative elements, which is destroying our community, and that's where we are. And I think the music industry is happy for black people to be carrying on down this pathway we're doing because of the Grimes of the world and the drill acts. Not all of them, but they're happy to make that popular because the power of what Marvin Gaye and all these guys that were doing back then was taking, it was destroying the poverty mentality, you know what I mean, out of black people that were 2 generations away from slavery in the deep south. They moved to the north. The context is they moved to the Great Migration happened at a very similar time as the Great Migration of Caribbean people to. There's a massive Great Migration after World War II from the south to the north. So you had millions of black people going to now take care of industrial jobs. Yes. So they're going there. So
shipbuilding and all
but these black people were like basically. a generation before, they're talking about they're on the cotton fields doing slavery, and they've been in the cotton fields themselves. So they're talking about, when you talk about staple singers, their dad was working on a cotton farm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he had to save up his money to then, so we're talking about a situation where you're taking the poverty mentality and and telling him to say, listen, man, we can't get stuck in this urbanization, and which was destroying black people at the time.
Yeah, that's why this album was so revolutionary, because it was questioning the issues at the time. Why Black Brothers is going to shed their blood. Then when they come back here, they're treated like third-class citizens. Right, you're American soldier, that's how the enemy sees you. But when you're in America, as a black person, you're seeing something different.
Yeah.
And Marvin Gaye was, according to his brother who served in Vietnam, was questioning those issues.
Yeah, 100%.
My blood started to boil, when he got angry, anger and energy, an artistic point of view. So he started to create music that was questioning.
As the thing is in
issues.
Vietnam, it's like literally you have been told that you've been treated like trash, you've been cussed off over there. In some states, a lot of the South states, you can't even share the same bus. And then you've been told, come on this plane and we're going to dump you in the middle of a land where it's none of your business, you know what I'm saying? And you dump you in the field, and you more likely will die because somehow you guys are being dragged over, you blacks, Mexicans, and all this was getting dumped into Vietnam, and they didn't want. It's not they're not interested. You know what I mean? You see,
and the Vietnamese is not going to differentiate you to. They treat you bad as a black person. I'm not going to kill you. They're going to kill you and the white soldier at the same time. Yep. It's no difference. And these were the things that Marvin Gaye was questioning about.
We was using cannon fodder.
Yeah. And so the album became a mouthpiece, not only to people in the white establishment requesting the corruption, but blacks as well. So it became a launching pad.
Okay.
To actually question what can we do to change.
Yeah, man. That's beautiful.
Yes. That's so it became what you call a conceptual album and a masterpiece. Total, and it compelled Marvin Gaye into what you call in the major leagues. The album was just revolutionary.
Papa.
From the beginning, yeah.
Papa.
And then you got this one, Let's Get It On, where he deals with his 13th album, where he went from talking about sexual challenge and charging and and all the experiences he had to do, his concept of sexuality. So that's and this also became a blockbuster as well.
Man kept it real in all areas. So one second, so with this album, I don't want to get too much into the detail. But obviously he died. Yeah,
eventually
he died.
Yeah. He died in early 80s, unfortunately.
What's the story behind his death? Because I've heard the story.
He was shot by his father.
That's for real. There's 100%. So I heard it's because of. Is it that album?
No, it has nothing to do with that album.
Oh, okay.
No,
cool.
it has. This album was when Marvin Gaye was at top of the game, actually, because the album was so big that it went platinum in the UK, and the single went gold and so forth. It sold, I think, in the UK, it sold millions.
Okay,
as well
cool,
in the US, it sold millions. So it peaked at number 2 on the 200 album chart, which is the pop singles chart at Billboard. It went to number 2. That's how big
Marvin
it was.
Gaye, man.
It was explosive. It was monster. It was a monster hitting album across the board.
So he's got here then, you know what I'm saying? Just looking at some of your notes there, bro.
Mm-hmm.
So basically it was it was abuses. He faced a bit of abuse from his father, which kind of messed him up. Not messed him up. Forgive me for saying that.
Fuses idea of a spiritual healing in songs about sex and romance in part of a way of coping with childhood abuse from his father, Marvin Gaye Sr., which has stunted sexuality, so to speak. But and so unfortunately, with all the love that he felt with his new wife, they eventually divorced, which is a sad thing. So he had a difficulty getting on with his wives, and Marvin Gaye did sort of found himself plunging into drugs and so forth, and that messed him up. But however, if you're looking from an artistic point of view, these albums, well, when you look at both albums, they're over 50 years old, you know. These two albums, they're over 50 years old.
I recognise
this one.
This cover, I recognise that cover. That cover, I recognise that. I don't recognise that cover.
Yeah,
Well, I probably recognise the music, but not that cover.
Yeah. This is
Another song that what I love his song. Is it the one that he does? You're all I need.
That is with Tamba. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
because obviously I know the Mary J. Blige remix
yes,
for that
yes,
still.
yes.
Yeah, so
Yes,
I know.
yes.
You're all, and then when it said it's Marvin Gaye and is it Marvin Gaye?
Tammy Terrell.
And
Fever.
And the thing is, but what I what I love about them songs, it reminded me of what I saw in church as a young person was duets, male and female vocalists. So you'll have the male vocalist and you have the female vocalist.
That's
and
right.
sometimes, and the skill of our singers, they wouldn't need to practice together. There's no need of words. And then they'll just harmonize together and then they sing. And that was normal to us. And I don't see that these days. I don't see, a male singer and a female singer go on the stage and just harmonize together without no practice, you know, bro. You know, it's like Youth Sunday and you get the top male singer, the top female singer get together, and when they sing together, it's sweet, you know. You're saying,
yes.
So that's why I like listening to that song, the original. It reminds me of the old days of duets. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's a big tune when you listen to the Mary J. Blige and Method Man version. It's like, you know, that reminds me of my Gritty Pass.
Yeah. Yeah. So this album, these two albums celebrate they're over half a century old, and so just to show you how black music has progressed over the year. And then you got this one to do with Diana Ross, "Touch Me in the Morning."
Is it Diana Ross and the Temptations? That's what I know.
No, it's. Well, Diana Ross did
what's the Temptation? Not Temptations.
Diana Ross and the Supremes.
Supremes.
Yes.
What's the Temptations?
But this is
you
when
can tell I don't know.
this is when she goes. This is when she goes solo.
Supreme. So there was a lot of debate over her, from what I remember, because they're saying that she got pushed because she was she was more friendlier with the system than her colleagues in the Supremes. Look at he's Kevin smiling, you know.
Diana Ross did have an affair with Barry Gordy, the owner of the label.
But she can still hold it down.
And of course, she had a child with him, a girl. Yes.
Okay, so
this
that's
album,
not what we're learning from that part of the industry, people. We're leaving that part of the industry behind. You say, you know. So
this album was recorded, original, and released in 1973. So it's exactly over 50 years old, right? And that "Touch Me in the Morning" was composed by a white brother called Ron Miller is a black, and Michael Massa was white. He was the one who did some of the Whitney Houston big hits. You know, one like for instance, what's the name of the track? God, I can't remember. I
remember from Diana Supremes. I remember the styles. I'll see them do styles. And I remember they always have a kind of tambourine kind of thing, that kind of vibe.
Okay.
it's that kind of vibe where you can almost drop a tambourine.
Yes.
I don't know if that was the Motown kind of flavor.
Yeah, the Motown.
Because I was listening to Chicago Mass Choir. Released out something the other day. Because Chicago, that's a kind of like Chicago-ish kind of Midwest area,
yes.
And I remember their style is not like fast. It's got that groove to it. Cat. It has that kind of, you know what I'm saying? So it's almost, there's a vibe in black music, which is, like they said, signature sounds, regions, blues and Chicago.
Yes. Because this is a West Coast album. Compared to this that was recorded in Detroit.
Yeah.
And this one was recorded both in Detroit.
So Diana Ross is a West artist.
Well, she's not really a West Coast artist. She started a solo career, when Motown actually moved to the West Coast.
Right.
Because they moved their operation in mid-June,
cool.
mid-June of 1972 to the West Coast. So they became a Californian registered company instead of a Detroit. Instead of a Michigan registered company.
Cool.
So they move operation. So this old album, is actually produced in Detroit. Not in Detroit. In Los Angeles.
But
California.
originally, But Supremes would have been Detroit.
Most of the Supremes classical stuff. Most of it was recorded at Studio One in Detroit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, brilliant.
So this is actually recorded in Los Angeles.
Okay, cool.
So this is one of her big albums, and both the single and the album was number one. Touch Me in the Morning was number one, the single on the pop and R&B charts, and also the album. So it sold very large numbers on both sides of the Atlantic. This last one.
So I did say Temptations before. Now it's Temptations.
This Temptation is called Masterpiece. This album was produced in Detroit, and it was done in 1973, and the single Masterpiece was 30 minutes and 54 seconds long.
Gee.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it had organ. It had most of the Funk Brothers in it, all the top brothers on the album, and actually arranged by Paul Reiser. And this was another blockbuster #1 album, which had a gold single and a gold album. One of their top albums. Produced, and it had a funkadelic sort of style. Masterpiece, yeah. So this is also over 50 years old.
This is what I'm saying, people.
Over 50 years old.
This shows people that for me, we have a wealth of just music, man. Music and great artist names. Always learning information. Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross. And you got Temptations, absolutely crazy.
And just remember, this is just a tip of the iceberg. We're not talking about Eddie Kendricks, what he did with Keep on Trucking, and we could go on all night, really.
No, 100%. But we're gonna end off this part here still, guys, because we've got another part to do. We're gonna be hitting the East Coast next in part 4 of our series focusing on black music, because we're in Black History Music Month 1924, 2024. We're here now, so guys, do check out our stuff. Also, again, I have to say, we've got a load of information about different black music history creatives and different things that's on the station. So just check out the Edge playlist where it talks about black music history. I've got a specialized playlist for our conversations with Kevin, which is me as a student talking to my lecturer. This is how I've kind of built this space. So hopefully you'll learn from a student talking to his teacher, and you'll learn a lot more that way. I believe it's a great learning tool. So it something different, but it's a great learning tool. So guys, please, hopefully that's a blessing, and hopefully you enjoy this, mate. Yeah. All right, then, guys. Thanks again. God bless you. Roger. Over and out, man.
Hey, this is your Bishop. This is your Bishop from Rock Solid. Thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for clicking and subscribing, and also sending these videos to other people as well. We are so hungry to get your support. So remember, check us out on our website, and also check us out on Insta, and wherever you want to find us on Spotify. You can play us all day as well. And just make sure that you are supporting this channel, that we are developing our agenda towards music of black origin, and that is gospel music with a message. So please walk with us on this journey. Bye now.